Whether it's around the country or your town or county, decisions are being made every day that impact real people and real communities. Welcome to the Rural View, where we open the window for you to view Wisconsin farmers and rural residents and get a glimpse into the challenges they face.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of The Rural View. And very excited today because we are going to be meeting my new co-host for The Rural View. So, surprise! It's Jim. Jim, say hi.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. I'm excited. This is going to be a great experience, and it'll be awesome to spread the word of Farm Bureau and agriculture and just have fun.
Yeah, so Jim is not here against his will. He willingly signed up. He was not voluntold to do this whatsoever. I
Maybe
did
a little.
ask very nicely. Put that hand away. I did ask him very nicely, and told him that I would make it as easy as possible on him. But I guess let's just jump in, Jim. Just share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do. You're a farmer first and foremost, but just tell us a little bit of who you are, first of all, and then we'll let people know why I asked you to do this with me.
All right. Well, first of all, I farm down in Waukesha County in Heartland. I am a former dairy farmer. We sold dairy cows about 13 years ago and went into beef. We farm about 800 acres of corn and soybeans and wheat, and then have a couple hundred acres of hay. So we do a fair amount of baling hay. We have a small square machine. It's called a bale bandit, and it puts them in, stacks them 3 high and 7 long. So you get 21 in a bundle, and then it puts 2 steel straps around it, and then you can deliver 21 bales to horse farms. So obviously in Waukesha County, at one time was the largest. There were more cows in Waukesha County in the 50s than anywhere in the United States. So now we're down to under 10. I am proud to say that my daughter and her husband are managers of a dairy farm just a few miles south of here. I have another daughter that is at the university or at Michigan State doing her master's in ag economics. And then I have a son that went to River Falls Short Course and is at the home farm with me.
And also, if I remember right, you're going to be a grandpa soon?
I am going to be a grandpa. I'm excited. Carrie, my wife, and I are very excited. Brittany and Dan are due here in June, first part of June. So we're
That'll be super
excited.
fun.
First
That's
time
very cool.
grandparents, and it's very exciting. Very exciting.
So much spoiling ahead. I can already tell
Oh,
just how
yeah.
you're talking about
Oh,
it.
yeah. Every trip to the fleet farms and so forth around, it's always, yeah, wow, we could use that. I got introduced to strollers the other day.
Mm-hmm. Did you test drive any of them?
No, I didn't. They went and found a between friends, so it's basically used, or I should say used, but lightly used clothes for kids, and they found a really good deal on a stroller. And in farming, you have to have one for in the barn, and one for at grandpa's house or grandma's house, and one at home, and so it was kind of cool. But I was rather surprised at the costs of strollers compared to what it was 27 years ago.
Oh yeah, even slightly used. It's crazy. I'll share a quick, really funny story about when we were expecting our first child. My husband and I went to go try out strollers, and they actually put like kind of a dummy baby in there. Like it was weighted like a baby, so you could kind of see you're testing out a jogging stroller. And my husband was just playing around with them. He didn't strap in the dummy baby. And so he's jogging around the store, and all of a sudden this baby goes flying out, and this woman just gasped, like, and I was like, ooh, okay, well, those rural people, they're just built a little differently, so we're going to need some pretty good harnessing in this stroller if we're going to make it in the country. So anyway, but, oh, that's super fun. You guys are going to have a blast.
Yeah, we're excited.
Good.
Let's see. Went to University of Wisconsin River Falls, graduated from there. It's kind of funny. I have what's called a broadcast option B degree.
Okay.
So I took a bunch of, dairy science. I thought I went, but I never grew up on a farm. My dad passed away when I was really young. So I worked on the neighbors and I worked on my uncle's farm out in Pennsylvania. Soon as school got done in the spring, I loaded up the truck and headed to Pennsylvania. And my uncle's an auctioneer, so we spent a lot of time, early on, he was milking cows, and then we'd get done doing chores and hay if we were going to do it, and then we would spend the rest of the day working on auctions for the weekend. So I dabble with auctioneering. I say I play one on TV, but
Mm-hmm.
just I'm conversation piece. I've done some auctions for like 4-H pie auctions or the penny auction or something like that. Nothing always that's one of those someday when I have time, which I don't know when that'll be. I'd love to go to auctioneer school, but I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I have too many bad habits probably, and it would take a lot to relearn auctioneering. And at River Falls, I did radio and TV. I was the sports director for the local TV station for the university, and then was on the air at WRFW and was station manager for a number of years for the station, and came home during the summers. I did internships in Milwaukee at WMIL. Did that for a couple years and helped out at numerous stations around Milwaukee. Then I started announcing a water ski club. We did water ski shows
Oh
in
my gosh,
Pewaukee,
I did not know that.
and had, yeah, see, I can't share
I'm learning.
everything with everybody. This is going to be a few episodes, so we got to stretch it out.
I'm gonna dig. I'm gonna find it out all.
Somebody said that there was something that they didn't know I did, which is good. So I was the announcer for the water ski show for a number of years, and then we ended up, that's was the time when we started having kids and phased out of that. I got involved heavily with the Waukesha County Fair. Started doing the radio commercials for the county fair, and back when I first started, it was a 3-hour process. It was unbelievable. When I
Mm-hmm.
started in radio, it was literally cut and paste. When they say cut and paste, that's what it was. You pulled out the tape, and if you had a breath in there, you cut it out, you spliced it back together, and you put it on a reel. And so now it's all digital, and you you
Mm-hmm.
know they if you had a tag, they just moved the tag over. And I think now the last time I did it, doing the 15s, 30s, and 60 seconds and PSA spots, I was in and out within an hour. So
Mm-hmm.
it's changed
Yeah, and
immensely.
I think that's something that as people get to know you, like you do have a broadcasting background, and that's not something I knew about you right away. And it really hit home for me because I know that you told me this, but at our state annual meeting when I was walking around and I joked with you if you wanted to take my job, and you said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'll go backstage and announce." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I think that's where I finally connected the dots of all the experience you have and why you'd make such a great co-host of this.
No, it's exciting. I mean, you always probably one of the reasons why I didn't stay in radio is I'm a I love to be, I love community. I love involvement. And the hardest thing about radio is you can have the greatest show of your life and get off the air, and the station gets bought or a new program director comes in and you're out of a job because he
Mm-hmm.
hired his buddies from Kansas City to come in and take your spot. So it's not because of the job you were doing. It's just the business. And I didn't care for that. Not saying that you couldn't find a station around here to do that, but obviously I love farming. So it's nice to be able to still do some of those fun things outside of the farm, because we all know that if you don't get off the farm, you kind of lose your marbles, because all you're doing is, you know, you can only talk to so many cows and not get responses.
Yeah. And when I was gonna say, speaking of not losing your marbles, but fun things to do off the farm, You also have been involved in Farm Bureau for a very long time. So why don't we just share a few of your, Farm Bureau connections? I'm sure you have a few different touch points throughout the years of different things you've been involved in. And then, of course, you're currently serving on our state board as well. So talk a little bit about your Farm Bureau experience.
So my father-in-law and his dad was the president of the Waukesha County Farm Bureau many years ago. I mean, long enough. I never met his dad, but I came home from college and started milking cows here and fell in love with the farmer's daughter, and the rest is history. When I was announcing the water ski show, the president at the time, Bob Bartholomew, said, "Hey, we could use somebody young guy like you in Farm Bureau." I said, "Well, Thursday nights I do the water ski show." "Well, when you're finished with that, just come on over." So of course, I'm in a pair of shorts and, not the typical, but I was the young, as I've been quoted saying once or twice before, the young whippersnapper coming into Farm Bureau.
You
Kendall
still are the young
Persidel will,
whippersnapper.
yeah, Kendall will get a kick out of that. The came into Farm Bureau, and I ended up we did probably the first thing I did was the discussion meet, and qualified for that. It was obviously a little different back then. There weren't a whole lot of
Hmm.
people from District 1 that wanted to do the discussion meet. So I mean, I don't know if nobody else wanted to do it, and I just said yes or what, but all of a sudden I'm going to compete at state. At that time, the first Farm Bureau state convention was at the Marriott right next to our current office. It was exciting. And then we were lucky enough, Carrie and I were lucky enough to be selected to go to DC. And I
Mm,
just got out to DC here last week again. And that's the first time I've been back since then. And just stayed involved with Farm Bureau. I wasn't the young farmer rep, I was on the board. So I've been on the board, I don't know, a long time, and now serve as vice president of the County Farm Bureau Board. And been doing that. Tom Oberhaus is our president, and my daughter, Brittany, is our young farmer.
full circle.
Full circle. I got involved, from the discussion meet. Then I got into the ag in the classroom portion of it and was ag in the classroom chairman for a number of years. Um, Waukesha, we tend to do, we've done it a little bit different. We actually try to get as many people, farmers, into the classroom as possible. And at one time, we had over 3,000 kids that we were involved with and going
Oh,
to.
wow.
But COVID has obviously changed that over the years, so it's really hard to get back in, and we're slowly getting it in. Brittany and Beth are actually out doing a STEM project today with ag in the classroom. So it's full circle, yes,
Mhm.
and great to be involved. And people need to know where food comes from. And around here, I don't have any neighbors that are farmers.
Mhm.
When you know, I I tell everybody we're one of the few farms in the state that has traffic light, sewer, and water. I can just about see the Culver's flavor of the day from here. So
That's
it's
amazing. That is
we
that is such a unique perspective. I always love that. I remember a few years ago we had a rural road safety day at one of your directors' places, and I remember pulling up, Waukesha County and just thinking, how do they farm? It's so urban. You guys have
yeah.
just really unique challenges, but also are huge advocates between the work you do with agriculture in the classroom and just like trying to convey that and make those connections with consumers about farms and what they need to function and trying to get that buy-in from your neighbors. It is truly a very unique spot. I can vouch from that from trying to run an event there. But
Yeah, that was down at Bob Stigler's there, wasn't it?
yes, yeah, we did a media day where we had, just doing some
The
coverage of like
sheriff.
how do you drive around farm equipment and things like that, and like I said, it was just so busy the whole time. Like, we for sure had to make sure we had, law enforcement there because we never would have been able to even get out
Yeah.
of the driveway, I think, in a couple of the spots, so pretty impressive. Very unique perspective, though.
and maybe that's something that'll be fun. I've talked about it a number of times, but was going to put a GoPro in the combine just so people
Mhm.
can see what we go through just to get out on the road or go down the
Mhm.
road. You know, I realize that everybody's in a rush. We all get at some point in our lives get in a rush to go someplace, but it's so funny to
Yeah.
watch people pass you and then you're at the same traffic light 3 seconds down the road.
That's karma right there, though.
It is. It is.
I think that gives a good just basis for our listeners of like who you are. And like I said, you've been involved in Farm Bureau for a long time. So I think when it comes to you and asking questions of our members that we're going to be interviewing, like you're going to have a really good perspective. And of course, we can't replace the Bob Meyer, but I'm very
No,
excited to
no.
have you on board to help me out with this project and we can continue the really cool thing that Bob and I started. So I want to kind of just transition to kind of a fun fun thing of, at the end of our episodes, we've been doing kind of some quick fire questions, and these don't have to be super quick. We can discuss them a little bit, but just kind of some unique questions, something for those of the people who do know us a little bit more in the Farm Bureau space. Maybe this will be new information for them. And I'll get them talking or maybe even judging us a little bit.
Right.
So, are you up for it?
I am. I will tell you it is red tractors, though. Mm.
Okay.
I know in watching some of the other podcasts that there is that question. My mother actually worked for International Harvester, retired with 30 years from there.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
we've always had a little bit of red in our well, we bleed red. So
I was speaking at a meeting last week and somebody, well, I can name names. Our good friend Pete Beck, he pulled the quick fire questions on me while I was at the meeting. So I got to be
nice.
careful when I'm when I'm out in the wild. People are kind of turning this on me when I'm out and about in Farm Bureau land. So I need to be nice with these questions because otherwise they might come back to me at some point too.
Well, they probably will, and I'll help out with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. All right. Well, first question, Jim, are you a morning person or a night person?
Um, I'm gonna say night, morning. You know, it's funny once you stop milking cows, you don't have to get up as early. So I'm okay with that. And
Mhm.
as you know, being a director for the Farm Bureau, those meetings don't always get done real early. And then you have an hour drive back home. Then when you get done driving, you have to unwind a little bit. So it's kind of changed around a little bit. And my wife works second shift or third shift, depending on the day. So a lot of times I wait till she gets home so I at least get to see her for the day. Because when she gets up and goes back to work, if we're field work or out, I never see her.
Yeah, I also am a night person. I'm the person that if you want to stay up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, my family, even with still milking cows, we are not morning people. We're more of a
Yeah.
schedule to a later time. We are night people to the core, and I wish I could be a morning person. I love coffee. I love morning vibes,
Yeah.
but if they start at 9 a.m. instead of like 7
I
or
hear you.
before that,
I hear
I'm
you.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe we'll just have late night recordings, Jim.
Yeah.
We can
I
record
mean,
late
you
at
can
night.
listen to it whenever you want. I mean, if you want to listen to it in the morning, you can. We're just going to
Yeah.
record it in the afternoon or evening.
Yeah, and I'll drink coffee in the nighttime too, so it doesn't matter what
Yep.
time of day
Yeah.
I'm down for coffee.
I do love my caffeine.
Yeah, same. We do have that in very much in common. Talent, what do you have for I don't know if it's a secret talent or not, but a talent, and do you think it's useless or not?
Um, I love to sing. I don't do it as often as I used to. At River Falls, I was in the choir and had the unique experience of going to Taiwan to sing
Hmm,
in Taiwan for 2 weeks.
that's pretty cool.
And we were supposed to go to Europe, but Desert Storm happened, so we weren't able to go.
Mm.
But um, you go to a foreign country, and you learn real quick how to appreciate what you have at home. It was a great experience. It took me quite a while to eat rice again. They eat it every meal, and for drinks, there's no water, there's no milk, so it was papaya juice and guava juice.
Mhm.
Still haven't had any of that yet, and the beer was warm and terrible.
Yeah, that's a
So
bummer.
I still do that. I've done it, um, weddings. I was lucky enough to do it. I sang at my own wedding for my wife, didn't tell her. I sang at my daughter's wedding. I
Oh.
sang at all of my best friends' weddings, and now it's kind of full circle. Now I'm singing at loved ones' funerals. So I had to sing at my uncle's funeral here last year. So it's
Hmm.
it's interesting. Obviously, I like doing weddings better. It's
Yeah.
for me, it's very hard to sing in front of people that you know. You're always,
Mhm.
self-conscious and worried about stuff like that. But yeah, it's useful. I don't do it as much as, I used to, obviously. I used to be a member of what's called the Waukesha Choral Union, and
Mm.
it was a group in Waukesha, and we just did concerts. Every year we did the Messiah. So this time of year they did the Messiah, and they still do it, just not involved with it. It's just time commitment.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say for my maybe list, but usually not. I also have a hobby of singing. I thought that was kind of interesting though in my head because I have been nominated to sing the national anthem at the annual meeting quite many times, and I'm thinking, maybe Jim should be on that list.
Well, you
So
first.
you never know, Jim.
They might,
You might.
everybody might be sick of me by then.
Yeah, that's true. We don't want to bring you on too strong too fast, but uh, that is going in the back of my brain when we start talking about that state annual meeting of
You know,
things,
I
potential
will say
options.
this. I love to help out. Love helping people out. Um,
Hmm.
I don't mind spur of the moment. Hey, we need this done. We'll get her done. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. Maybe we
Yes,
could do
it's
a
very.
duet.
Oh my goodness. Well, maybe we
But,
could. We'll have to think
I
about
think
that.
yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. Probably one of my biggest fears is, I've sung the national anthem hundreds of times, but with a group, never done a
Hmm.
solo. And my biggest fear is overthinking about it, thinking about the
Hmm.
next word and forgetting it. That
Done it
would,
twice.
yeah. They've asked
It's
me at fair,
terrifying.
it is. And I would psych myself out too much that I wouldn't want to do
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I think
That would
people
be
forget
my
about
fear.
that. But the national anthem is actually one of the hardest songs to sing. And
Yes.
I did a lot of, sports games and veterans programs when I was in high school and I was at a veterans program. And I mean, you have
Yeah.
just such an impactful event that you don't want to screw up. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. I overthought it. And this very nice
Hmm.
gentleman next to me holding his gun just leaned over and was like, "These are the words." And he just kept me going. And I appreciate that so much. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a tough song to sing. But
it is.
all right. Next question. What is a controversial food opinion you have?
Food opinion?
Yeah, like
I
what's
don't
a
like cook
maybe a hot take?
I don't know, I don't like cooked vegetables. Is that a
None of
an
them?
no. Like potatoes, but I don't like Brussels sprouts or
Do you like
so
them
at
raw?
River Falls. Huh?
Do you like
I
them
like them
raw?
raw, yeah. Yeah, I like them raw. I like green beans out of the garden, and I still could not do Brussels sprouts. That smell drives me nuts. I love potatoes. Good baked potato, I'll take that every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
like carrots, they get all mushy. Eating them raw, good, and some dip or like veggie pizza. Who would want to cook a veggie pizza? It tastes better raw.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't wanna cook a veggie pizza. Um,
No.
my controversial food opinion is I don't think it's controversial outside of maybe our, like, membership or, like, when you think about just farmers and stereotypes of, we're very much, kind of people that like our meat and potatoes, right? But my hot take is,
Well, yeah.
not all vegetarian food is bad. Some of my favorite food to order at restaurants are actually vegetarian options. I grow a massive garden. I grow some produce for people outside of my family too, and I've learned how to cook them really right. Now, do they replace my steaks? No. Do they replace my cheeseburgers? Absolutely not. But every once in a while, I don't really mind a vegetarian option. Maybe scary to say that in the space, but uh there's some good vegetarian food out there.
All right.
Jim's like, I'm not
I'll take your
commenting on
word
that at
on it.
all. Yeah, I know. It's
No,
okay.
no,
That's what it was supposed to be
I'm not going
controversial.
there. I'm a
Yeah.
beef farmer. You want me to?
Well, like I said, it doesn't replace my steak, and I'm still gonna probably have steak with most of my vegetables, but there's still some
Well,
really
right.
good
You know,
veggie options. Even if you're having them as a side, it's okay.
that's right. I mean, I was different. I remember when I was a kid, I would never eat tomato sauce on my spaghetti. I always had plain noodles. Didn't
That's
want the
weird.
spaghetti sauce on there. Now I can't
But
eat
that's
it
not
without
a
the sauce,
spaghetti.
but, it's just one of them. I don't know,
It's
it
not
was
really
just
spaghetti though
pasta,
if you don't have sauce on it, is it? Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. Still love my
All
pasta,
right.
but gotta have sauce.
Yeah. The next question I was gonna ask you, and I'm interested to say what you're gonna or hear what you're gonna say is if your co-host was a cartoon character, uh, who would they be and why?
Maybe you should go first on this one. No.
Um,
I don't know.
I can.
Alright.
Well, and to be fair, I picked these questions so I had more time to think about it than you
Yeah,
did,
right.
so that's kind of cheating.
I was trying to
But
figure out
and I
when the
don't
last time I saw a cartoon.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it can be any kind of fictional character, I guess. We can expand it. But the one that came to mind for me, and I'm still trying to figure out if that's like the final version, and it could just be because in our household, we watch a lot of Toy Story, like a lot. Like we probably watch the Toy
Oh,
Story
yeah.
movie at least once a week. And I just, you just kind of remind me of Woody, Jim.
Woody?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, like he's a guy, he
Well,
brings people together, he's friendly, he's got, you know, not necessarily a mustache, but he's got kind of the
well, I guess I was thinking tomato or something like that.
I mean, Larry the Cable Guy is the voice for that character, so
He is.
I do have a yes, I do. I should probably fact check that, but I'm very sure he is. I do have a special place in my heart for the Cars movie as well. It's a big one in our house too.
Yeah, that was a big one in our house, obviously years ago. Well, I guess if you wanna stay within that theme, what's the pink Porsche? What's
Oh
her
yeah,
name?
what is her name? I'm looking it up.
Well,
I'm
that'll
just
be our
kidding.
homework for the next one.
Yeah, is it Sally? Is that who you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think
I
Sally's
think it is.
the girl voice in Cars. Yeah, that makes sense.
And, we could use that might be something fun to do, when we throw questions out. I mean, we could do that almost every week because Lord knows we all
Mhm.
have different days and different cartoons.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot. Like I think people have these not that you pretend that you're a cartoon, but you're like, "Oh, I kind of relate to that one." That would be a good quick fire question. I'll have to add that
Yeah.
to my list. All right, next question. What is a topic that you could talk about for hours and never get bored?
Farming, agriculture, it's ever changing. Something new is happening all the time. The farm show in Oshkosh this week, I mean, we go up there to dream. It is, what you really like and what you really can't, what you can afford is, sitting next to each other. But it's amazing. For me, probably the coolest thing at the farm show this week was I've never seen a combine without a steering wheel. And they had one that was joystick controlled. There's no
Mm,
steering wheel in it. So
interesting.
I couldn't afford the
That's kind
front
of
bolt
crazy.
off of it, but yeah.
It's like you said, it's cool to dream. It's cool to dream.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild to think about though. Like I'm just trying to picture that without seeing it, and that's just weird. That just seems weird of
So it was a tracked combine, and then it obviously still had steering in the back, but the arm
Mhm.
on the left-hand side came down and there was a joystick there, and your right hand still was doing your header operations and, your rotor speed and whatever else
Mhm.
with the right side, but your left hand was basically steering it. Think of it almost like a skid steer, some of the joystick controls and a skid steer, be the same kind of thing. But it's just not what we're used to, you know. My son was up there with
Yeah,
it. He goes, "Yeah, look at that, Dad. It doesn't have a steering wheel." I'm like, "Get out of here! No steering wheel."
that's wild. It's just crazy, the tech side of agriculture and how fast that is moving. It's moving faster than ever. It's crazy. All right, next question. Who would you consider your biggest influencer from the broadcasting side? Who's your, I guess, favorite agriculture broadcaster, either growing up or influencer?
Easy. Orion Samuelson was who I wanted to be. Always wanted. I just admired him. Again, going back to the red thing, he was the spokesman for International Harvester for a lot of years. I can remember as a kid getting up uh, and watching him every Saturday morning. That was, I didn't do cartoons. I got up to watch Orion and Max. That was my thing to watch. And I think back then I used to, if somebody wasn't up, I tended to go into the freezer and get my first helping of ice cream in the morning on Saturday mornings to watch Max and Orion. So those are
June Dairy
those
Month
childhood
all year
memories.
round in your house, in your
Well, of
household.
course, everything goes with ice cream.
Everything, including your eggs and bacon. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
I have to I have to chime in on this one because growing up in northeastern Wisconsin, mine was definitely Mike Austin. And I was just kind of reflecting on this. Mike has now since retired, and see him every once in a while. I haven't seen him in a while now, but the first time I saw him at our state convention, I thought I was gonna faint, which was just a funny moment because if you've ever met Mike, he's just like, "Hi, I'm Mike." Like he's just the most humble person, and I just was so giddy of, "Oh my gosh, he's in the flesh." I was newly out of school and just seeing somebody who you're so used to seeing in a TV screen, in person was just
Right.
it was a
Right.
pretty cool moment. So, but yeah, he was for sure. I mean, that's just who we grew up watching. If dad had the news on, watching Egg News, that's Mike was the guy for us. So, yeah, good memories with that. Speaking of memories, what is your favorite Farm Bureau memory? Or maybe like your favorite Farm Bureau event and stuff if you feel like you can't narrow it down.
Really love going to the state convention. It's neat to see all those people that you may only see once a year, but it always brought back a fresh outlook when you came back home because, it was neat to go someplace to talk with people that had the same maybe issues or, problems or good things that they did right or, "Hey, I was thinking about doing this," or, "Have you ever tried it? Did it work for you?" You know, it was it's a great resource to actually talk to some not that you couldn't do that, with a phone call
Mhm.
or whatever. And probably the most memorable for me was when we got to go to DC for the Young Farmer Fly-In. That was the start for me, basically, and being involved at the Farm Bureau. It was neat to see. Had never been to DC before, and to see all that. That's that was awesome.
Yeah, that's like a core memory, and I've been able to go out with a few groups out there, and it's just, sometimes those young farmers, that's their first time on an airplane and getting to experience not only that and just a whole bunch of firsts of traveling. Because, some farmers travel, but some farmers don't. And so it's cool to be part of those core memories as a staff person and just kind of, you know, guiding them through that experience and then also taking them to Washington, D.C., which is kind of an awestruck place to begin with of just this is where I don't wanna say the magic happens, but, this is where a lot of important things happen.
Right.
Hopefully, um, I think that's just it's a cool it's definitely a special memory for a lot of people when we go out there, and it's cool to be part of that.
A lot of cool
Alright,
history. I love history,
oh, yeah.
so it's neat to see all the history. And I mean, obviously, you could spend weeks just going through museums, but I love history. I love looking at old pictures.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a special place for sure. I have one last question for us, and that is a question for you, and that is, what is your favorite episode been so far?
I really loved the episode on the cranberries, and I had never never really dug into cranberries. I didn't realize that the sprout or the blossom that you get in the fall, you have to protect because you need that for the next spring. And that it was this up and how long, and it's just we don't have bogs around here. It's kind of like, if you had somebody with a cotton, I
Hmm.
last year at the annual meeting in Texas, I sat next to a guy that was a cotton farmer. So I chewed his ear off at dinner or lunch. I forget what it was. Because we don't have that. It's just
Hmm.
always fun to learn.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool about, whether it's this podcast or just Farm Bureau in general, is that since we are all of agriculture, we have members with all different connections to farming and agribusiness, and so you're constantly learning, which is pretty cool. Not everybody gets to do that, and so that's definitely something I appreciate as well. And I'm not going to pick a favorite episode, so don't make me do that because they've all been unique and special in their own way. And I'm excited
Well,
for some upcoming ones that we're going to have slated here soon, too.
see, that's something I can just throw in at a later date.
Yeah.
Since you're throwing these questions at me, we got to keep it fun.
Yeah. That's okay. You can ask me questions whenever, Jim, whether I answer them or not. We'll see. All right. Well,
Okay. I see how this is
yeah.
going to work. Now, don't mind my cat.
Yes. Yes. I was joking with Jim earlier that his cat might be our new mascot for the podcast. So you might see that in action when we're recording. But all right, well, I think that's a pretty good get to know you episode. I'm really looking forward. Like I said, we're transitioning into kind of a new era of the Rural View, and we have some exciting episodes coming up and on the docket, and looking forward to having you join me with this, Jim, and seeing what kind of fun we can have. I think we're going to have a little fun, right?
Oh, yes. It has to be
Okay.
fun. I don't know. Who wants to listen to something that they're not interested in or boring or whatever? I mean, we have to make it fun and have everybody be a part of it, and as far as that goes, if there's something that somebody wants to hear or learn about, then let us know. Let's go out and
Mm-hmm.
find that. That's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, I think that's great. If you have, different Farm Bureau members that you think should be interviewed, or even just, we've been doing some kind of stakeholder partner episodes too. Let us know what you want to hear more about. And Jim and I will try to uphold our goal of not making this boring.
Well,
And I think we're
yeah.
doing okay first. At least I think it's entertaining. So, but I'm
Well,
also very
right.
biased.
And I can there's probably some other information that it'll still surprise you that I'll tell you about,
Mm-hmm.
because
But yeah, we're gonna
there's
learn all
always
together
something new.
for sure.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
always
for
something new.
sure. All right. Well, we'll sign up for now and get a few more Farm Bureau members on here to interview and keep things rolling.
Sounds good. I'm
All
excited.
right.
It'll be
I'm
a
excited too.
lot of fun. Yeah.
It is going to be a lot of fun.
Wisconsin Farm Bureau is the trusted voice leading agriculture forward. Local farmer Tony Sorensen of Soren's Valhalla Orchard shares why she values her membership.
Farm Bureau has a big voice, and we appreciate when they go to bat for each of the specialty crop industries and all of agriculture, really.
By providing resources, training, and advocacy, Wisconsin Farm Bureau empowers farmers to embrace sustainable solutions for a stronger tomorrow.